and this is August of 1992. And the most bizarre incident of the week during the live USWA show in Memphis on Saturday, Jeff Jarrett talked about the WWF being in town the next night. He said he did not appreciate the WWF coming into his territory. Jarrett then claimed he would attend the WWF show because he's not afraid of them and promised to cause commotion. This seemed at first just to be another strange Jarrett interview where he went off on a tangent. Not so. According to our correspondent, Jarrett sat in the second row Sunday night in Memphis at the Pyramid for the WWF show. After one of the matches, Jarrett got out of his chair and climbed over the security railing. Jarrett was not making threatening movements. He just wanted the house mic. So as security scurried towards him, the ring announcer told security to let Jarrett say what he wanted. Jarrett repeated his complaints about the WWF being in town, the USWA's town, and said he was not scared of these WWF wrestlers. Then he said he'd like a shot at their Intercontinental Champion, Bret Hart, who was there that night. Jarrett then returned to his seat. Later, after Hart pinned Kamala in his title defense, Bret grabbed the microphone and accepted Jarrett's challenge and said he'd wrestle him the next time he was in town. Wow, this is a fun little angle that's not on TV. Is this all just relationship with Jerry and your dad? And this is a cool spot, man.
So roughly, when was the steroid trial?
This is this era, yeah.
Pretty much this year, right?
Yeah, 92, 93 is when it starts to get rolling.
Yeah, so, but that being said, this was the time frame of the Vince Jerry Jarrett Sunday afternoon conversations that was completely under the radar, long before the evil McMahon was thought of, long before the working relationship with Men on a Mission and Well Done and Savage coming down and the Narcissist coming down. This was like in the era of the conversations and just their Sunday afternoon talks of whatever the hell they were talking about. But them coming in, them as in WWE coming into Memphis, this was one of those learning moments. And when I worked against Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden, and that, my old man encouraged Robert to help me with basically my interviews or the thought process to go behind the interviews. And folks, if you want to know different styles, go back and watch some old school Robert and Ron Fuller interviews. They told stories. You look at Mick Foley today and you can see threads, not Colonel Parker. I'm talking about Robert Fuller, either heel or babyface. There's always kind of a story. And so Robert would teach me about, hey, you got to kind of craft a story. And Lawler was brilliant at it and all this kind of stuff. But those were, in my mind, I hate to say scripted, but bullet pointed, and those were professional wrestling interviews. And my old man on this, I can remember him saying, son, but he would tell me he told me on this, hey, you just got to speak from the heart. And I'm like, I didn't say this. I know I thought it, but I didn't completely verbalize this in my brain. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do it. What are you talking about? And he's like, hey, I don't want to give you much on this, but you kind of have to kind of speak from the heart. I said, give me some bullet points. So he kind of gave me some bullet points. And then it's funny or unique, shall I say, to hear, because in those days I didn't go read Meltzer's feedback, if you will, but that was something, and it caught the studio audience. I was, again, a touch point of learning to hear, because it was taboo. I'm going to mention the WWF coming to town, and I'm going to go down to the Pyramid. And look, yes, it's pro wrestling, it's scripted entertainment and all this, but it caught our fan base way off guard. Like, okay, this is different. And if you look in the notes, one of them, Meltzer Keller, they didn't know how to take it. They weren't real sure what was going on, because obviously they weren't privy to the Jarrett McMahon conversations or anything that was to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's even written in the torch. Oh, it's because Jerry and Jeff met with WWF officials. They don't know about these calls. Even, when Wade reaches out to Jerry Lawler, Lawler's like, I have no idea. I'm not involved in any of this. Of course, it turns out, USWA is going to become a bit of a feeder system. The matches were supposed to take place on October 31st or August 1st when the WWF was running the Pyramid again, We know ultimately those shows are canceled, but the match still happens. But instead of it happening at a WWF show, it happens at a USWA show. Let's talk about Shawn a little bit, though. He's going to have his first and only pre-WrestleMania match here in 1993 after his shoulder separation on March 29th in Memphis, defending the Intercontinental title against Jeff Jarrett. And it'll be the first time a WWF title is at stake on a USWA show. So it's a big deal.
Yes.
And of course, 1993 is right before WrestleMania 9. And you wrestled him before 5 years earlier, and now here he is doing his thing. Are you chomping at the bit to prove you've grown as a performer? Are you trying to impress Shawn, or is that not the way your brain was thinking at the time?
I wanted to go out for the Memphis crowd and tear the house down because, again, Shawn had left a Midnight Rocker and had, we didn't really touch on, they were WWF hired one day, fired literally the next, and Pat finally got them back in there, and then they had their tag team runs, and then they did the what was the talking segment? The Heartbreak Hotel set, and Marty and Shawn do the breakup, and then the injury, and I may be jumping around here, but anyway, Shawn as a single coming to town, he was a big mega WWF star at the time. So I can't say that I had it in my gut to impress him. I wanted to go out and tear the house down. That was my mindset.
Are you at all disappointed that the title shot happens against Bret? I mean, Shawn instead of Bret? I mean, I know that you had done this angle with Bret, but I know you hold Shawn in high regard. Was there any disappointment at all about not missing Bret, or are you just thrilled to be in there with Shawn?
I think from a business perspective, because of, look, and we didn't even touch on this, we're talking 92, 93. WWF house show business was not good.
No.
And I say they, WWF and WCW, they always, pardon the language, shit the bed when they came to Memphis. To the point that WWF said, we ain't going no more. We're not going to go take a bath at the Pyramid for nothing. We're done. So they had quit running there. Nashville had kind of got that way. Louisville had kind of got that way. They had much stronger markets. So when they weren't coming, obviously it put, okay, I get it. Bret's not going to come back around. And then the Sunday afternoon conversations that I began to hear bits and pieces. And then I heard, because I kind of thought, okay, that's gone by the wayside. That's going away. But when they worked out Shawn is going to come before he makes his return, it was freaking huge. Yes, I didn't have any second thoughts or have any mindset of, oh, damn, I didn't get to work with Bret. I would have liked to, but it was like, okay, we get to have this title match.